Good morning, everybody. We are coming live from GFOA 2025. If you're joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. The chat box is open. My name is AV. I'm the founder and CEO at Avero Advisors. We're an independent third-party consulting firm that specializes in ERP consulting and digital transformation for local governments across the country. And we have been at GFOA 2025 for the last 3 days. Today is the last day of the exhibitor hall. And on tradition, we are going live from our booth. With me, I have my crew. Today is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So there's
Hey guys.
Megan, there's Robert, and we are going to talk today about um, our ERP confessional wall. So we have this cool whiteboard set up where people have been coming by and putting in their ERP horror stories, things that worry them about an ERP implementation, and it's been a great conversation starter. So we're gonna go over some of the um, you know thoughts people have left on our confessional wall and just chat about it.
Yeah. Let's go.
Where we at?
Okay. I'm going to start by talking about this one because it's near and dear to my heart. Lack of bidders for our 99-page RFP. And if you haven't seen the content that we've put out about how to craft an RFP, please check that out. But let's dive into this. So 99-page RFP. I think it doesn't matter how many pages your RFP is. Number one, what matters, is how you write it. What is the scope? What are you asking for? How are you telling your story, right? Why are you doing this project? Why this? Why now? Help me answer that so that I know how to craft a very unique response. Anything else to add?
Yeah, and we've had a lot of conversations about RFPs in general, right? A lot of software providers are really interested in uh, how we're modifying that process, how we're being creative, how we're being more efficient, and not doing it the same old way like it's been done for 30 plus years. Your 10,000 line requirements definitions, making vendors check off every line item, and that isn't necessarily required anymore because most products do the basics. Most products do, check runs. Most products
That's
can
right.
do a lot of things. So, what are those unique outcomes and key features that you need in a system, or what are the key features you will select based on?
That's right.
And that is really important to us as we help clients do that. So, 99-page or a 9-page RFP, if it doesn't have the right things in there, you may not be able to make the best decision, especially when you haven't really seen any modern ERP systems out there, don't know what the capabilities are, and so it becomes a really blind process. So we are trying to modify that process, and we're doing things like bringing in software providers to do non-committal pre-RFP demos and meet and greets, so the clients know exactly what's going on the market. All right, what's next?
All right. I like this one. We're done. Moving on.
Ooh, we're done.
We're
Moving on.
done.
Um, you know, it takes a lot for
It
clients to
does.
move on from an implementation. Mid implementation, it's not an easy decision to make. Sometimes a necessary one, but really it cannot be taken lightly. It cannot be done flippantly. You really need to pay attention to the contract, why things aren't working. Are they really not working, or is there something else going on that is killing this project? So we're done. Moving on is something that's on the confessional wall, and that's not an easy decision to make. So I wonder who wrote that. We should probably go talk to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
IT led the ERP project.
Okay, not necessarily a horrible
Bad.
thing.
Yeah.
IT leading the ERP project, as long as they understand and have participation from the business users and the business departments. You need to involve finance, HR, payroll, the departments that will eventually be using your system need to be involved in the project. Uh, IT leading the ERP project or HRIS project, not a bad thing, as long as they have the skill sets to project manage and are not only looking at this project as a technical project.
I fixed the problems after implementation.
So what that tells me is go live happened,
Mhm.
and it happened because the vendor said we're live. It wasn't the definition of the client. So if the problems exist during implementation and they're not fixed and you go live, you're really putting yourself in a bad spot, because what does go live mean then? And then problems arise, but are they problems? Are you trying to make modifications post go live? That may not be on the software providers. That's on you. If a new requirement came up and you're trying to change how the system works, you're trying to implement a new functionality, that is okay to do, and the vendor should not be blamed for that. So um, I fixed the problems after implementation. It's not such a bad thing. But if the vendor left you high and dry and you guys went live, and it really doesn't work and you now start getting the invoices, we've got a slight problem there. Um, David, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a fantastic time joining live from GFOA.
Are you reading the confessional
The
wall?
confessional wall, yes.
What's next?
I've talked to a couple of people about the confessional wall. It seems to be a hit, and people are getting stuff off their chest.
So what's next? We let the vendor choose the go live date. I mean, I think I talk about this every week on the live stream. The vendor can propose go live dates. I mean, what happens is once you sign a contract and kick the project off, you will have your opportunity to review the software provider's work plan, project plan, significant dates. But it's really important for you to weave your key dates into the software provider's work plan. Otherwise, you're not going to pay attention, or the vendor's not going to pay attention to your blackout dates, your audits, your budgeting cadence, your vacations. A lot of times when a project Gantt chart's put together, people don't pay attention to holidays. For example, don't propose the go live during Christmas week. Everybody's off; they're hanging out with their families. So time your go live so that it works for everybody. So letting the vendor choose a go live date, again, not a bad idea. But make sure you have inputs. Make sure you're taking into account your organization's schedule, because life goes on. You all have day jobs, and you have to take all of that into account as you get on this journey. What's next, David?
Let's take a look here. Looks like we hired a retired PM part-time.
Okay, I don't know. Again, we wish we had names and size, organization sizes, because that hiring a part-time PM um, is not a bad idea, as long as you have resources within your organization that can handle the load of an ERP implementation. It is not an easy task to take. If it's being sold to you as an upgrade project, it's a lot more than that. You're moving between PeopleSoft to Oracle HCM, or going to Workday or Tyler. These are brand new products um, that don't qualify as an upgrade. You really have to pay attention to uh, what product you're going to. And part-time project manager, great. If you need supplemental resourcing and you already have staff on your team that can do it, go for it. What's next, Dave?
Lack of bidders for our 99-page RFP.
We already did that.
You already did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not gonna repeat this.
Let's see here. IT led the ERP project.
Already did that.
Already did that. All right.
Stay away from you.
Look. You're being efficient. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Lack of executive engagement from the vendor.
Ooh, that is a big deal. Lack of, what does that mean? Executive engagement from the vendor. When you do demos and you're trying to pick a product or a service like ours, make, we are putting our best foot forward. The software vendors are putting their best foot forward and showing the best teams, the best sales teams. And when the project goes on, if all is going well, you may not need executive engagement, but at key moments during the project, you need to have executives from every stakeholder set in your. Hey, Scott. You should. Here. Um, Ex-client, future client, Scott McCarthy. Where was I?
Scott threw me off a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. Let's see here. I went with the cheapest.
Went with the cheapest provider. Now that's a function of how you ran your selection process, right? If you put a lot of emphasis on cost, which is okay to do, you and you pick the cheapest vendor, it may or may not work for you. So in this case, it's a confessional wall. Sounds like cheapest was not the best for that organization and didn't quite work out. But how do you select the right product? You have to have a selection criteria that goes beyond just pricing. You need to have a lot of qualitative selection criteria in there. You have to give the vendors a chance to showcase their best features and get a chance to meet with their project teams, their executives. And that's how you make a selection. Because at the end of the day, this is not a tech project. Yes, software is involved, but it's really a people project. You're trying to overhaul your organization and how it works. And you need to pay attention to who you're going to be working with on the other side, be it the third party project managers or the vendors team. Pay attention to who's working there, how the product fits your organization, and use that to score and rank those products accordingly. Pricing should be included in that decision criteria. It should not be the number one criteria for you to select. There's a lot of choice on the market today. I mean, we are at GFOA and lots of new providers, lots of um, legacy providers with new products. It's an exciting time. There's a lot of choice for organizations that are looking to modernize their ERP systems, and you need to be careful not to just select based on pricing because you know you can get some special discounts and deals at the end of a quarter, but what does that really mean to your organization? It needs to go beyond just pricing. Next one.
I didn't fully understand the contract.
Okay, that's a common one. It's a contract. If you're not a lawyer, it's a pretty dry document. But make sure that your legal team is not only looking at the legalese, but they're also understanding the scope of work and how it fits for your organization. Um, Otherwise, you're going to sign something that you don't understand, that you may be opening your organization to liability and a lot of trouble if you don't understand what you're signing. So in this confessional case, looks like they had some trouble because of the contract. Hey Jeremy, welcome to Avero. This is Jeremy Cedars, one of our senior consultants, and he has done great at this conference. By the way, so what are we talking about next? We've already done some of these. Um, didn't read the contract.
Oh,
We
that's a bad one.
we had no PMO. Let's do that one. So what does that mean? A project management organization. If you're a medium to large scale organization, you need to have a project management office that does nothing but work on your implementation. Depending on the size of your organization, it may be one person, it may be a part-time person like we talked earlier, but you need somebody that's doing nothing but taking care of the project. Now that could be a third-party provider like Avero. We run project management offices for large-scale implementations, and it's a partnership between us, the software provider, and the client. Um, no matter what flavor you choose, you need to have a PMO that works with every stakeholder and make sure that the project's health is paramount. I heard a really cool um, phrase the other day from one of our clients, and they said we have to protect this project from the rest of the organization. I thought that was very prescient, and it was such a deep thought because the organization has its own life. It's got its own set of objectives. But it was cool because that statement was made in an executive meeting of their top executives of a very large organization, and they said that we have to protect this project from the rest of the organization. How do you do that? By having a PMO that does nothing but take care of the project. Jeremy, what else? What's next?
Let's look. I think
Report. What's yeah? What's
yes.
that?
So reports. Uh, Essentially, on the front end, this organization did not define what reports they needed,
Okay.
and when they went live, they didn't get all those reports done. It's really important when you're gathering requirements that you get the reports known ahead of time, and that you're also working with the vendor to make sure you're getting all the reports you need prior to go live. There's some reports in the public sector that you can't go without.
Yeah.
And it's vital that you, if the client can't do it or the vendor can't do it, they need to provide that report by configuring it on your behalf and
Right.
making sure it gets outputted.
Right. So that needs to be defined in the requirements phase, right?
Yes.
Upfront, because like you said, there are so many reports that you absolutely need for compliance reasons, like state, federal, grant reporting. It gets really complicated when you are, let's say, you're a council of governments and you're serving, 50 plus um, member agencies, and you're getting federal funding. You need to track those grant funds by
Yes.
project, by agency, and it gets really complicated. And we had one instance where a selection was made, but there was no real definition of what those real key elements of project-based accounting were and how they were supposed to be reported. The other good example is we worked with a client in the South that is a Tennessee Valley Authority um, power reseller, and they had some very stringent reporting requirements that had held up modernization for their ERP system for many, many years. But it took some defining to about what exactly is the report, where's the data source, and in what format does TVA need it or any other federal agency. So if you don't define it up front, you're going to be in some trouble. It's not impossible to build reports in 2025, with tools like Power BI and AI enabled reporting tools. It's not such a big deal, but you really need to deeply understand what that is. And it's not, how do you do it? Did you just show samples of old reports and say, I need this report in the new system?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
See, you can provide the sample, and you should provide the sample, but you also need to sit down with the vendor team and have them understand it and break down the report with you.
Yeah.
I've seen so many occasions where in the past, before we worked with a client, they said we couldn't get these reports through. They just weren't making them correctly. And I asked, did you sit down and tell them exactly what you needed from the report? And they went, no, we just provided it and assumed they knew.
Yeah.
Vendors do conversions from many systems.
Yeah.
So there's times where they might not know exactly what a data field means from your system, and it really needs to be defined.
Yeah. But going back to the PMO function, that's something the PMO does, right?
Absolutely.
Making sure that the software provider is A, deeply understands the reporting needs or any other requirement, and that they're tracking that functionality or the report or the business process is actually being configured in the system before you go live. So, uh, great confessional. I hope they are doing well.
Yes.
What's this one?
Nuts.
You read
Why
that?
am I now hiring staff support at ERP? It was supposed to be easy.
Why am I now hiring staff to support an ERP? Was supposed to be easy. Yeah. So this is an emerging concept, right? Why do you implement new technology? You implement new technology to make life easy for your organization, to automate things, to not necessarily reduce headcount, but through attrition, maybe, like people retiring, you don't need to replace. There's a human element to this, and everyone's talking about how AI is going to replace human jobs. That's not all the way true, but it is happening in some cases. And a new ERP implementation should be an opportunity for you to redistribute work, automate processes, get away from manual processes. And so when you implement a new system, no CFO ever says, I'm going to add staff to support this system. There are instances where you may need to do that, but it's not default. So this complaint or confessional was they had to hire staff to support a system. And I wonder what the system was. Was it on-prem? Was it in the cloud? Because that's unusual to have to hire staff. There's a case to be made though for um,
During
systems,
implementation.
right? Or even after, right? When
Yeah.
when you need a system administrator. Who does that function? If you haven't done it before, if your IT staff doesn't have that skill set, then you might need to hire someone with that. But it doesn't always have to be a full-time person. You need to also take advantage of managed services that are out there, right? But
Yes.
if you're implementing a system and you're using a third-party implementer, let's say a system integrator, they always offer services to um, help you out after implementation on an ongoing basis. Check those out. Take advantage of that. If you don't have in-house staff, you should lean on your um, contractors and vendors to provide their service for you. It doesn't always have to be a full-time person. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's look.
Any more?
We all talked.
We aren't using it to the full potential. Look,
Yes.
that with new software solutions that are in the cloud, that are software as a service, new functionalities are released, every quarter, in
Oh
some
yeah,
cases every week. So will you always ever use the full functionality? Maybe not. So how do you define that, right? And it's a confession, so it means someone's hurting somewhere. And if you're not using it to the full capacity, again, define it. What does that mean to you? Compare it with what's available in the system, and if you want to use it, work out a plan to turn those modules on, turn those functionalities on. You may have to bring in the vendor again to configure that for you. It's not such a bad thing to not use 100% of the capabilities.
definitely agree.
I think we're out of confessions. Let's do this one.
Yes.
I thought this could be done with one solution. So there's a raging debate on the market about ERP all-in versus best of breed. Best of breed means you bring in the best solution for that function, and with modern technology and APIs, it should seamlessly work with other systems. So replacing an older monolithic system with another newer monolithic
Hello.
system is an option. You have tons of vendors in this hall that
Oh.
do it. Oracle, Infor, Tyler, they have all-in systems, SAP, and then you have best-of-breed solutions like Workday, UKG that do specific things, and they will bring in the partners and other vendors. If you want to release an RFP that covers all your functional areas, these providers will bring in the best-of-breed solutions that work best with their product, with their core product. So you can do it with one product. You can do it with multiple products, and we're engaged in projects that have both flavors. So implementation was a nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, it can. It's a really hard process to go through. Like I said, everyone has day jobs, and if you're taking this on yourself without bringing in an expert third party to project manage or run the implementation as the buyer's representative, it can be really hard because it is a multi-year process. Many times, it becomes elongated because of bandwidth issues on the client's end. Sometimes the vendors have issues, and so it's a multi-year process. You need to plan for it effectively, efficiently, and keep an eye on the project as it goes on. And it no matter what system, because it is a transformational uh, process for your organization and your people, it is hard. But uh, picking the right product and the right vendor and the right partners that fit your organization is key because that makes it easier, and it doesn't have to be a nightmare. I think we're done. Oh, sold on industry expertise that wasn't real. Okay, so the sales process can be daunting for our clients, and how do they know if what's being shown in the demo? Fine, you can see the product and you can click around and you're talking to the system implementer or the product, the vendor itself. And all of these big vendors have done work with all kinds of industries. So they have the experience. Now, it depends on what teams are assigned to you and how deep you need that expertise to be. Keep in mind, not everybody needs to be an expert in the industry,
Correct.
right? Not everybody on the team that's serving you needs to be a deep expert, but you need subject matter experts on the software providers team that know the industry. And almost all vendors have that, right? They wouldn't be in business if they didn't have the expertise to serve a particular industry, say K through 12 or airports. So that's by default. But so this confessional says the vendor didn't bring the right expertise for the industry. I wonder what the story is. It can be true, but it also depends on your perception, your perspective, and what your expectations are. Going back to defining the scope, putting it in the RFP, and making sure you're holding providers accountable to that throughout the implementation process.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we're good on the confessional wall. Oh, what is that one?
Yeah. It was. I kept silent during vendor demos because I didn't want to uh, basically sound like they were complaining or sound like they were not understanding a gap in front of them.
Well, it says, Jeremy's so nice. It says, I kept silent during the vendor demo because I didn't want to sound dumb in front of the group. This is a common issue. You're not alone, whoever wrote that confessional. Uh, but that is your chance to ask questions. Look, you're doing public procurement. There's a cone of silence when the RFP is on the street. The if the software provider has never seen you or you haven't seen them, what other chance do you have to ask questions? That is the best chance. Nobody's going to accuse of you of sounding dumb. And by the way, we do that to ourselves, right? No question is dumb because this is a critical moment in the selection process. It's a critical project for your organization. Ask away, ask them anything. And at Avero, we're trying to solve the problem of how do we work under the rules of the procurement process and give our clients the opportunity to interact efficiently with the vendor community because it's a problem that we're hearing from both ends. The software providers need access to potential clients to answer their questions, and clients need to take that opportunity to really dig into whether or not this product fits your organization or not. And the only way you can do it is by asking questions.
Absolutely.
I think we are good
That's
on the
all of them.
confessional wall. Let's go in and take some uh, thoughts from the team. See what else we have learned from GFOA this year. Um, so I'm gonna bring Miss Megan back in.
Oh man.
We don't have any questions, which is good. But if you have
Okay.
any questions, pop them in the chat box, and we'll answer them. But what are your learnings from this year's GFOA, Megan?
I think the message is still the same for me, guys. I think, our clients really need our help. They need a trusted advisor to give them unbiased advice because they just don't understand where to begin. And so those are most of the questions that I've been asked. How do we write an RFP? How do we do this? So, uh,
Sorry.
sorry, I'm distracted by AV flagging people down.
Like,
But I think the message is still the same. Like, I don't know how you do a digital transformation project without having expert advice, and we're here if you need that. So that's really what I've learned. The message is still the same. Our clients still need us, and that's good to know.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And the thing that I have learned is, so I came to JFOA this year, and one of my expectations was that I'm gonna see some really cool AI enabled products in the market. Now, every major vendor here has AI enabled something. They have built AI into their products, but I'm not seeing any standalone. Well, there's a couple standalone uh, pure AI products that plug into any other ERP and provide a faster service to the customer. I think there's a lot of innovation still to come, and I'm excited for what this next year is going to hold for the industry in general. Um, but like Megan said, the problem still exists that there is a gap in the market for what we offer, which is independent advisory, because the choices are so many. And how do you know which product will fit your organization the best? So we do that in an unbiased way. We're not affiliated with any vendor, and um, we are on the client side at all times, from pre-implementation strategy through to post-implementation. So if you are thinking about an ERP project, if you have an ERP project going on, if you need assistance from us, please reach out to us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to also pop in our ERP transformation survival kit QR. Scan that and download the report. It's a cool checklist about what you need to do as you go on this journey of transformation for your organization, um, and and really take advantage of all of the stuff we have out there on our YouTube channel, on our social media. It's all out there. You don't have to be a client to take advantage of what we do here. Um, so with that, I think we
Yeah.
wrap it. You
I have
any
one
other
more.
closing thoughts?
I just had a conversation with a sweet lady who really hadn't thought. She's about to release an RFP for consultant services. And one of the things that she hadn't really thought about is how important the contract negotiation phase is during an ERP transformation project. And so I just wanted to mention that because I don't think that we're talking about that enough, or we haven't talked about it enough in a while, right? But having somebody who knows what needs to go into your contract so that you have leverage when something goes bad is very important. And that's something that you guys need to seriously consider when you are looking to upgrade or purchase a new ERP system. So I just wanted to mention that. Do you have thoughts around that, AV? I know you do, but
Yeah, contract negotiation can be scary, especially given the confessional
that's
that
right.
we didn't read our contract. Please read
Mhm.
your contracts. That's, if you do nothing else, read the
Yep.
contract. But the negotiation process also doesn't have to be that scary, because these contracts have been negotiated before. Your organization may have some really specific needs and terms and conditions you may accept or not. But again, involve your legal team, involve some experts. If you don't have an in-house uh, counsel, get somebody who's done software negotiations and contract reviews before,
Mhm.
and use that, because again, if you do this right, you will be doing this once for your organization, at least in your career. And it's a critical step in that process to have a well negotiated contract that works for you. And we have a negotiation checklist on our website. Please go check it out, because there are several things you can do during negotiations that are to your advantage. Uh, Payment milestones, uh, indemnity clauses. Just really pay attention to all of that. So thanks for bringing that up. I think
Yeah.
it's a great point.
Absolutely. And just to add to this, I
Yeah.
was reviewing a contract for a client a few weeks ago, and one of the biggest things was in their contract is that they had agreed, or they were about to sign on the dotted line to agree to pay all of the things, uh, pay up front, right?
Mhm.
And it should be milestone based. Am I wrong? It
It
depends.
depends on the
It
project and
depends.
the product being installed. But yeah, milestones are generally good, because how do you know something is done and that you owe money for that? So
Right. Exactly.
you have to build that into your contract.
Yes.
And
Yes.
again, there's several flavors of doing that. Reach out to us, or um, go check out our other videos in contract negotiations.
That's right.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do a live
Yeah.
here in a few weeks on
Yes.
contract negotiation. But it was
Absolutely.
on my mind. Sorry, we have a lot of ADHD going on right now because there's chaos in the vendor hall. So thank you all for joining us today. Make sure that you follow us on all social media channels, and make sure you check out our website and all of our content that we have and downloadables. So thank you guys.